Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What would you say if I told you there's a book that can teach you how to win The Bachelor?
What would you say if I told you producers caught multiple finalists reading that book in this season that's currently airing?
What would you say if I told you the producers don't want anyone to know that their show has been compromised?
How do we know all this? We wrote that book.
I'm Lizzie Pace.
And I'm Chad Kulchin.
We're the authors of How to Win the Bachelor and the hosts of the Game of Roses podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we break down all the biggest plays, errors, and MVPs in the game of reality television.
Listen to Game of Roses wherever you get your podcasts and go to howtowinthebachelor.com to get our book.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile, the podcast where we walk home from the movies. And we're walking to the movies today, and it's very frosty, so we're going to have to walk very carefully, not slip.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a Christmas movie called Violent Night.
I mean, great title. Fair play.
Very good title.
Excellent title.
I saw the trailer for this a while back. Looks fun. So it is basically, if anyone doesn't know, this is it's basically like Die Hard if John McClane was Santa Claus. Right?
Don't tell me anymore because I haven't seen the trailer.
Oh, you haven't?
No,
Okay.
Don't ruin it for me.
Well, that's basically all you need to know. So Santa's real and he's in a hostage situation. And
Great.
to me, and David Harbour is Santa, so probably most famously from Stranger Things recently.
Yeah.
And
we're
also
big
the Black Widow movie.
Yeah, big fan of his. So this
He's
sounds right
great.
up my alley.
Yeah, and look, the trailer looked fun. My fear for this movie, and I am quite excited to see this, but my fear is that I don't know if this idea can justify it like a 2-hour runtime. Do you know what I mean? This feels like this feels like a sketch, doesn't it? Like if I saw this in a sketch show.
Well, I don't know because all I knew before this conversation was that it's called Violent Night and has David Harbour in it, and I was sold.
I mean, that's enough to get you in the door. But can they wring this out for 2 hours? That's my question.
Well,
because
we'll have to wait and see.
there's a God, what's the sketch show that has? There's a sketch show that like has Santa in it, and Santa has like hung up his hat and wants to be an actor. And he's on
seen that.
Oh my god, look it up. I'll link to it in the comments. But there's a brilliant sketch. It might be the Tim Robinson show. But he's like Santa's in junket interviews, and he's starring in like films.
Okay.
And he and before the sketch is before the film starts. He's look. Don't ask me any questions about the Santa thing. I don't want to talk about that, right? I'm here to promote my film. And so that's the whole gag. It's really funny.
I mean, that would not make
and
the
it keeps
film.
coming back to the Santa thing. So, but anyway, my point is
But that's not what we're about to watch.
no, but I feel like Die Hard but Santa is a sketch. Do you know what I mean? If you saw that on SNL, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's a good sketch. So that's my fear. So
Okay.
going into this, and I hope they
You're
can.
rapidly deflating me here. I'm excited for this film.
Oh, right, look! I'm hoping and.
I love violent action.
good.
Violent action-y films. So, like, I'm down for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I want is I just want some over-the-top action. I want it to be funny.
There has to be a children's choir singing Silent Night, but in Violent Night.
Violent.
Yeah.
No. It'll be cut to. It'll be a brutal action scene, but cut to that.
But to them
Right.
singing Silent Night really angelically.
Yeah, beautiful. All right,
I'm looking
well-
forward for some good Christmas Carol juxtaposition. That's what
Right.
I need.
We are
Blood on Snow.
nearly here.
Let's go.
Blood on Snow, alternate title for this
Right.
film. See you on the other side.
I don't want any trouble, okay? Someone's gonna scooch up that chimney.
Who is he? Because he's not your typical mall Santa.
Santa, are you there? Daddy said you were very busy tonight. My name's Trudy Lightstone. Are you gonna help us, Santa?
Yeah, Trudy.
Santa?
You're on my nice list. Santa Claus is coming to town. Time for some season's beatings.
hell are you?
Boss, what if he really is the real?
No such thing as Santa.
Right, hi, we're back. We've seen Violent Night, and if it's your first time at the cinema, we don't spoil films until we do, because there's a spoiler street on the way home. So we will spoil this film, but not right now. I loved this movie. It was such a great time. I highly recommend seeing this if you are into Christmas movies, if you are into action movies. It's got this wears its references on its sleeve. I think there is Hallmark. It feels like a Hallmark Christmas movie if Die Hard happened, plus Die Hard 2 plus Home Alone. Like, it's just got all of those things. Is it as good as any of those things?
No.
Probably better than the Hallmark Christmas movies, but any of those things? No, it isn't. But I think this movie is much better than it has any right to be, and my fears were assuaged quite early on. I think this lives up to a 2-hour runtime. It's propelled by David Harbour, who is fantastic and charming and charismatic. The action is all competent. The bad guys, while never reaching an Hans Gruber level, which is very difficult to do, I think John Leguizamo kind of doing a good enough job here. Over the top, nasty villain. It's funny. It's occasionally quite sweet, and yeah, it feels like it's. It feels like I haven't really seen this before. This kind of idea.
It's more original than you'd expect it to be.
Yeah,
and I definitely enjoyed it as well. I properly enjoyed it actually, and there's like all the stuff you said about like kind of Hallmark movie-esque stuff and Die Hard-esque stuff. Where it's sometimes a little bit jarring is that I'm like, I don't think the movie quite knows what it wants to be, and I think sometimes the tone is off. But for the most part, actually, they make the tone work, given it is that weird mix of that kind of stuff. David Harbour's obviously a really, really excellent lead and plays Santa really well. I think the movie like squarely nearly rests on his shoulders, and I think, but for him, and to an extent John Leguizamo and then the little girl character, but for those three, the rest of the movie feels like Hallmark movie acting. So they're the three good actors. I'd say the movie's assigned, and I don't mean the rest of them are bad actors, I just mean they feel like TV movie actors. So but for those three and the kind of higher production value, it could be a TV movie, but there is a higher production value and those three are in it, which elevate it. But there's like honestly some cracking good action scenes. So like if you're like, there's going to be loads of action scenes in a Christmas movie, it's like they will utilise every form of Christmas decoration or Christmas item, like a manger or the star on top of a tree.
I can't wait to talk in spoiler street.
They'll all be used in this film. Like, so I actually thought like the fight scenes were quite fun and very ingenious, and it's just so weird. It's hard when you're watching movies like this because you are like all the movies you reference are particular Home Alone and Die Hard, like they're real classics, so it's hard when you're thinking about them in a movie like this. What I will say is where this film didn't have for me is it didn't have A-level music that I would expect. They didn't have a choir of children singing Silent Night, which is just a shocker, and they didn't have any really good Christmas songs. There was an okay one over the end of the credits, but like I felt like they could have done more with that.
It was So Here It Is, Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
right?
but they didn't. But they could have used that through the film, and like a lot of really good Christmas songs don't even have rights, so like there's no excuse for it, you know. But I think like the little kid was brilliant, and David Harbour was brilliant, and we also know that he plays a great kind of fatherly figure from Stranger Things. Like he's brilliant at it in that. Yeah, so like but I think it's a great pre-film. I don't think I think it's a great pre-Christmas film. I don't think it's gonna be a classic, but I think it's like almost up there at that kind of status, which is hard to do.
I don't know. Okay, here's the thing. It's hard to call like what's gonna become a classic Christmas movie in some ways, because I think when Elf came out, I think everyone kind of enjoyed Elf in 2003. And then kind of moved on, and I think slowly it just crept into the zeitgeist over many years.
But Elf can be watched over and over with your kids. This film can't, so you're excluding like it's fairly adult. I don't know what the rating was, but I'd say it's at least 15s. So
for
you're
sure. Sorry,
excluding
I'm not suggesting anyone watch it.
No, I know
with
you're
the
not,
kids.
but I'm saying I think Elf is so popular because like kids watch it and families watch it.
Fair. But I guess what I would ask myself is, would I watch this again? Yes. Would I watch it every Christmas? Maybe. I had such a fun time watching this. And there were so many scenes I would like to experience again. Like, I think the fun of it for me, what I like from a sort of 80s style action movie is over the top comic violence and then elaborate deaths using props.
Yeah,
kind of.
I enjoyed all that.
And this movie delivered all that. And a very charming performance from David Harbour, which I would watch again. I also would happily watch a sequel to this. I think it would be stretching the premise quite thin, but so did Die Hard.
Well, the thing is,
Die Hard did that.
You
That
could
had many
take
sequels.
David Harbour as Santa though, and just have a completely different film. So actually, this has more sequel capacity.
I
than a lot
think
of films,
so.
because he can just be. You could do the next film of him like in the North Pole, frankly, and I'd watch it. I would continue him in the Santa universe.
The North Pole is under siege this time.
It'd be so good. I think we should
make
get to
it like a
Street.
battle epic. Okay,
Let's go to Spoiler Street.
So
we both.
Would you recommend
if
someone
you're a fan
watch
of like 80s action movies, which we both are, I think you like it. If you like kind of a bit of fun poking its nose at Christmas, yeah, you'll enjoy it. And there also is then some very Hallmark-esque Christmas movie scenes. So if you like Hallmark movies, you might enjoy this too.
Yeah, because it's got a very basic, like the characters, all the ancillary characters, the family at the centre of this.
They're a Hallmark movie.
Very sort of, they're straight out of, they are so sketched. They're just hand sketched like a Hallmark movie would. But some of them they're just all comic relief characters to an extent.
Yeah.
There's not much meat to be found here. There's not much character to grab onto.
But no, it's very fun, and now we're going to go to Spoiler Street.
Yes, so spoilers now for Violent Night. I think, look, for me, one of the most joyous bits was when the whole Home Alone section happened, and it was
really
like
fun.
an R-rated Home Alone.
That was so fun. And I love how the little girl had said early on in the movie, "Oh, I've just watched Home Alone." It's like, yes.
And it was so funny, and
she set up the trap.
She's so charming, by the way.
She's
that
so
actor.
good.
I thought she was excellent.
She like really carried all the scenes that David Harbour wasn't in, which for most they only meet at the end of the film. It's actually one of the downfalls that they didn't get to spend more time together, I think. But when he goes, "Oh, kid, like, you know, we're supposed to not be able to see the booby traps." And then she's all the hidden booby traps, and then he ends up landing on all the ones he'd seen. Like when the nail went through his mouth.
Oh, I was like, I mean, I was having so much fun in this movie because I was just like, I was just going, oh no, you know, you just like, I like to loudly exclaim.
I love the guy. This very much felt like the Running Man with the kind of electric baddie in the Running Man. I love when the guy gets the star from the top of the tree through his eye, and then David Harbour plugs it in, and he gets like an electric shock. Like that stuff is all fun to me.
So fun.
So I really enjoyed all that. I think the beginning when they fake said it in England and had like two blatantly
They were not English.
Yeah.
They had maybe I think they were. Do you know what? They were Americans trying to do British accents, but it just sounded Australian.
But
it sounded
not
like
even
someone mimicking an Australian accent. God!
I often think that
bad.
happens when you get like kind of elevated extras trying to do accents. It's just terrible.
Well,
I think their point wanted to be that because he travels across the whole world, so like he was in Bristol, but like next stop, upstate New York.
I know, and it also did not look like a pub in Bristol. Like we've been to Bristol.
Wherever this mansion is, I actually think a crucial problem of the film is that they're like, Santa's doing all this to help this family, but like you're talking about this thing, it's like maybe the richest family in America. I just feel like
no, he doesn't do it for
I know
the
he
family.
does it for the kids.
To be fair, I think they set that up really well because we got a very reluctant. You need a reluctant hero in these things, right? And I thought they set up Santa as, you know, that opening scene tells us Santa's done. Everyone is too greedy. Everyone just wants video games and is soulless. And this is going to be the last Christmas. So I think it sets up the stakes well. The turnaround, he's ready to walk away. He gets out of there.
And she made him the cookie. I know.
And
she
sees the cookie. So it's the girl he stays for, not the family. They're awful.
But this is where it's a bit jarring.
And he knows they're awful.
The family are baddies. They're super rich, so I don't care for them. Then the little girl is very sweet. So I guess she's the only reason we care. There was a really weird thing. There's one other not adult character. There's a teenage character in it. but there's like a
He's
joke
just a
where
comic
somebody
book
makes
character.
a joke about him, but like he's been accused of sexual harassment. So I was like, okay. So then I was waiting for. I was like, well, you'd only tell us that to kill the character. Not only did they not kill him, they gave him like a bit at the end of the credits, like a post-credit like TikTok scene. So I'm just like, that was just crap to me.
Yeah.
So there's some elements of this film that like weren't properly thought through, and like it fell back on its what's very clearly cheap roots. Like I just feel like what slightly frustrated me about the film is, as much as I enjoyed it, I was like, but for some slightly better script work and pay a little bit more for some of the actors, and this could have been really good. And I think that's what's disappointing for me about this film. Is like it could have been really good, and it's just like good.
Well, I think
some tweaks and it could have been very, very.
I think that's
very good.
fair. Look, I think the movie, you said it earlier, the movie is being elevated by David Harbour, by the little girl, and by, I think, the quality of the sort of action scenes and
there's
the
money
deaths.
behind it, like
So that is enough to prop it up. When any of those things aren't happening, the movie is very it's Hallmark level.
Like
right?
it's like we obviously like I've just watched like some Netflix Christmas movies, and like they're very low budget, which is fine. But yeah, you can see where these scenes fall back into that kind of budget again.
But
and it's all even, like I don't mind low budget, but it's a slight shame that they didn't just put a little bit more work
But
into
I
the
think
script
this
on
movie, I think it's just this movie is carried by that stuff that it's just got the momentum. Because also there's you could, if you pick apart all the stuff that is just derivative of other stuff, like Die Hard and Die Hard 2, like the whole thing with the extraction team coming on snowmobiles wearing white suits, and then
Oh, see, I didn't get that reference because I haven't seen Die Hard 2.
Well, turns out that they are
Or I don't
they're
remember
in on
Die
it.
Hard. I don't remember
That
it.
whole thing is, the exact thing happens in Die Hard 2.
I only remember Die Hard 1, and I was like truly expecting the girl to be an event at a point, and was slightly disappointed
Well,
when
she kind of
wasn't.
was. She was looking down
She
at them
was,
from the
yeah,
attic,
yeah.
and she's on a walkie-talkie. They're having conversations.
I wanted
the
more of
security
the-
guard is called Al.
I didn't get that either. I wanted more of this stuff where like Santa was pulling out his list and being like, "Oi, in 1982, I bought you that bike."
that was so fun.
I love that scene, and I wanted Santa to do a little bit more like Santa-ing. And I know him and Mrs. Claus are having marital issues, but I feel like the very opening scene when Santa's like that drunk and like in a pub and stuff just really makes no sense other than having a good opening scene. Now that being said, I laugh my head off.
Why
when
not? He said the reindeer do all the work.
But when he vomited all over that woman's head, like that was
funny.
properly funny. But like the thing is, it just doesn't make any sense from a time perspective. Like Santa does not have time to be sitting in this mangy pub in Bristol.
Sorry, are you going to bring the question of time into how Santa works? Because he visits every home in the world in a 24-hour period. So it's just magic.
He's just not stopping
But
at a
it's
pub.
just Santa magic, and I liked.
Also, totally unbelievable in that scene was the other Santa who's like, "Oh, this is my 4th Christmas in a row working as a Santa. I do for the money. Cool, that's all makes sense." Next minute, he's like, "I'm going to buy all your drinks for you." Excuse me? Why would you buy all this guy's drinks for him? Makes no sense.
Who? The other guy?
The other Santa was like, "Oh, his drinks are on me."
Because he's doing it for the money. Because he's making all that sweet, sweet Santa cash, Kathy.
But why
Do you not know how much small Santa earns?
Well, I know how
Like
much
the big bucks.
My mother's
6
in the
figures.
production. My mother's now. You guys all love my mom, so you'd be interested in this. My mom has like a new post-retirement career of acting, and she's playing Mrs. Claus this year.
That's right.
So I do know how much they earn.
Can I? This is getting very tangential. Can we just finish up by saying, I really liked and appreciated. Another thing I liked about this movie is the Santa lore and backstory. Well, or of this character Santa. There's an implication, bit like Tim Allen's Santa, that like it is a position that is granted to people, right? Because he has no idea how it all works. He keeps saying,
Or maybe because he got granted it
Santa
1100
magic.
years ago.
Yeah, exactly. He's been around for a long time, but I loved that they made him like a Viking impaler, torturer
It's
type.
actually better as well not to
with a
explain it,
hammer.
because once you go down the road of trying to explain these things, you can really lose the film.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
But it loses the magic of it all and the mystery.
I just love that he was some sort of like cross between a Viking and Spartacus.
Oh, I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
And it gave us, but it also like served a purpose, because why else would Santa Claus be good at like fighting terrorists? Do you know what I mean? Or fighting, like so it was like it served a story purpose, but actually enriched the character, made him more interesting. And that moment when he finds the sledgehammer in the shed,
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was
it
and
fantastic.
his ring, his wedding ring, led him there. The other bit that I liked at the start of the film, we see someone like touch the like ornamental Santa Claus and it starts singing.
And that
And then
paid
we
off
see
later.
David Harbour coming along. He's about to strangle someone with the thing of tinsel, and then that goes off. Like, I just loved all the like. I absolutely loved the end and like how blasphemous it was when they were all in the manger, and he's like picks up the baby Jesus. He's like whacking someone on the head.
I know,
with it.
right?
Like that stuff.
And how
was
about
very fun?
How about the best? Like, because you need a good villain death as well, right? And I thought touching his nose and pulling him up the
That
chimney
was awesome.
is
yeah,
genius.
yeah.
I thought it was really,
very,
really clever.
very fun. And I kind
There's
of
a
liked
lot
the
of good
sweetness
payoff
that
in
the
this.
reindeer went off and came back with his new sack and stuff. Like, that was fun.
Yeah.
And I liked all the stuff when he held the sack up and the guy was trying to stab him, but like he was just going into a bottomless pit
It's
of sack.
genius. Honestly,
they spent a lot of time brainstorming Santa props here and how to
they
use them.
really thought it through. And
Yeah.
so I think for the most part, this film, it really worked for me. Like, at the end of it, I wanted more. I want more
I
of
did
this
not.
character. So I would be here for sequels for this movie. I will watch it again. So for me, I think this could be a sleeper Christmas classic.
Okay.
Honestly,
Let's-
for me anyway.
Let's revisit next year.
I'll see you in 10 years and we'll check in.
when
Anyway,
you're showing it to our kids.
let us know what you thought of Violent Night. Any of you who saw it. We are thecinemile@gmail.com if you want to email us, or we're on Twitter and Instagram, letterboxed at the Cinemile.
Yeah.
And we have a Patreon page. If you want to support us, please do. Patreon.com/the Cinemile. You get loads of retro movie reviews. There is a spoiler special of the White Lotus incoming.
Yeah, and we watch a different retro movie every month, and we've loads of fun, and we watch a ton of TV. So hopefully see some of you over there, patreon.com/the cinema.
And we are home now.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Come on. Which one of you did that? Prancer? So unprofessional.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right, so search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.